again, you got to keep catching yourself, like keep catching yourself in the storyline.
It's the awareness.
Yeah. Like I do it. Like I literally, like when I go for a walk and I'm in my own head, you get lost in thought and I start to follow the same storylines. Like you have something to lose. And then I flip. I'm like, no, you have nothing to lose. You're on a planet spinning in freaking outer space. Like you're a grain of sand in the middle of like a cosmos that is unfathomable. Like, what do you have to lose? Really? Welcome to Confessions of a Financial Advisor, the antidote to conventional financial wisdom. My name is Al, and I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. This podcast will explore the emotional and psychological factors that affect our behaviors. All of the other financial podcasts out there will talk about the numbers and the math. We will confront the stories that we all fuse with that ultimately set the course for our lives. I am not looking for new clients and have no intention on running for any kind of office. I'm going to tell you like it is and call out all the commonplace BS. Now, let's get into Confessions of a Financial Advisor. Hey, Diane.
Hey, Al.
So we're on episode 21, Nothing to Lose and Nostalgia for the Future. Those are the two posts where you keep combining our posts because we think they go together.
Yeah, there's a lot of commonality. There's a lot of common threads through a lot of the posts. So
there is.
It's easy to kind of combine them.
Yeah. We were originally going to combine it with, I think, what was the other one? The Danger of Success, but decided with Nostalgia for the Future.
I think the Danger of Success could be its own conversation.
Yeah, I agree. So Nothing to Lose starts with a quote, never contend with a man that has nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And it's like that fearless mentality when you have nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And I think about money. And so I think when I was in my 20s and 30s and I didn't have anything and I was just kind of accumulating, I didn't have a fear of losing money. So when the markets crashed or things happen, I'm like, I don't care. I don't really have much in the game.
It didn't impact you. Yeah.
Not much skin in the game. And then I get a little older, accumulate a little more, get a few things. And now things happen. I'm like, oh, all right. That's what that feels like.
Right.
A little more fearful. I'm starting to get where clients come from too, that are in their 50s and 60s when they're now relying or thinking about retirement.
Depending on.
So it becomes a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that I always forget, when I start to think that I want to go back to the mentality of nothing to lose, because it felt a lot freer. It felt a lot less anxiety ridden or stressful. I realize, no, put yourself back in your younger self. And then what did you think back then? What were your anxieties back then? I think to myself, well, it was the fear that I'd never accumulate anything because I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So it was just a different fear. It wasn't that I didn't have fear. I just didn't have that fear. So I basically had the mentality of nothing to lose back then.
Right.
Whereas now I feel more of the sense of like, oh, I have something to lose. But it's all an illusion anyway. I mean, all this money thing.
But the fear is ever present. And how appropriate is that for the times?
It's ever present. It's just different, right? It just changes form.
Like the fear doesn't go away. Like you fear.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose and you fear never having anything. And then you accumulate things that you could lose, whether it's a possession or a relationship, and you're still afraid. Like, we're just always in fear.
Yeah. It's just like the mind just conjures it in a different way. And that's fine. I didn't even think about it with relationships. Yeah. Imagine like you're by yourself. You have no family.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I need a family because I'm scared to be by myself. I want a family. Then you have a family. Like, I'm scared to lose my family. Oh my God. What if they die? Like, what if they leave?
I'm not scared to lose my family. That's not true.
Sorry, family.
No, I have. So I have my family of origin and I have what I call chosen family. But what's interesting is my chosen family are the people that I have met and connected with since I've been living by myself in Charlotte and been single. But even that has shifted. So there are some people that were very close to me a little over a year ago when the whole trauma happened that are no longer in my life. And that was their decision.
Yeah.
So chosen family shifts. Like your family of origin is what it is, but chosen family shifts over time.
Yeah.
And I've had to get okay with losing people. That has been challenging for me.
Yeah, because there's like that residue of history, of loyalty, of like that.
And then when people show you who they are, believe them.
And sometimes you have mixed feelings about it, right? Because there are, obviously you were friends with them for a reason at some point. So there are good memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those memories don't just go away. But now it's like you have to make this choice where, it's not easy. Doesn't make you feel good, right? I mean, it's not like.
No, but it clears space. Like it's like decluttering.
It's necessary, right? Yeah. Now I'm open for something.
But letting go of the attachment is challenging for me because I'm someone who tends to hold on to things.
So I always thought so you were talking about just family of origin. So I always thought, my family of origin. I'm like, how did this even happen? Like how?
Yours is crazy. Like the things you've told me.
Like, how is this even possible? How could it be? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then you start to realize that most people think that I don't fit into this. Like you couldn't have chosen more like polar opposite people to be in a family together.
Right.
And like conflicting personalities and just everything. And then I thought to myself, that moved into like the whole marriage circle. So then I thought, I got married and I'm like, why is this so difficult? And then as soon as you get into that 24/7 environments, it changes things. Because I used to think to myself, if I was just gay, I could just marry my best friends and then we get along great.
And life would be perfect.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, that wouldn't work. Hell no.
That's not how relationships work.
Right. My best friend's my best friend because I see him for, a few hours a week or I talk with him on it. Well, whatever it is. It's not 24/7.
Yep.
So.
Which is why I'm currently questioning whether I could ever live with anyone else again. I'm losing my fucking mind. Oh my God. Add another person into this. I don't know about that. Yeah.
It's a difficult thing. It's like it's definitely something that's, again, it's like your mind plays tricks on you because like you think like, oh yeah, it's something wrong with my family of origin. That's why they did this to me. This is what happened.
Blaming.
Yeah. And sort of like that's what, negatively impacted my life. And I'm like, if you got to pick the perfect family, I don't think they'd be the perfect family. Like it just wouldn't, if you got to pick the people you wanted and then you put yourselves together with those people, it'd have its own set of problems.
Relationships have their own dynamics and there are always challenges. Like you put two people together, like you and I have a mutual friend in common.
Mm-hmm.
Even she and I have conflicts sometimes, like where we don't always see eye to eye and we don't always agree and we have differing opinions because we're not the same person.
Yeah, that's just the way, right? It ebbs and flows. Like
but that's also why it works because we're so different. We're so complementary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just talk for 3 hours about anything and everything.
Yeah, like kind of like band of sisters. Yeah, just so like you go through like these traumatic times and somebody's like there for you that creates like some sort of bonds. Yeah, like it's deeper. Like it's not just. It's not small
I don't
talk.
do superficial. That's been clear from the very beginning. I'm like, if you're not willing to go deep, we're not going to last long term.
Let's get in. Yeah, right. So.
Yeah. So anyway, nothing to lose and nostalgia for the future. And both, I think, relate to storytelling.
Yes.
Which is interesting as a writer.
Yeah.
What stories are we telling ourselves? And so the nostalgia for the future post I found really interesting because it was just like flipping the script.
Yeah.
Instead of romanticizing, I'm not a romantic. Imagine how good could this get when it comes to the future, as opposed to the what if doomsday scenario that our minds are so, or at least mine is my default setting is like, well, what if I fuck it up? What if I fail? What if whatever?
I truly believe that it's not natural. It doesn't come natural to any human being to have a default setting that just goes toward the positive. I just don't believe
setting.
It. Like everything's going to be great. Yeah. So like it's a self-defense mechanism, but it's funny. It's all about these storylines because like the storyline that I created for myself for as far as my past was high school was fun. College was amazing. It was all about just.
But really, was it?
I mean, parts of it.
Yes.
But I kind of pieced together all the parts that were perfect and then negated all of the parts of the insecurities of the little depressions, the little, all the things that for whatever reason, my mind just basically took all the good parts of the story and then pieced them all together. And that was my reality back then. So then in my, current state of trying to fend for myself, early 20s, making no money, have to try to pay rent and do all these adulting kind of things.
Adulting is overrated, isn't it?
Oh God. It was
adulting.
And like to throw gas on the fire. It was like having the thoughts of like, man, I had the best life just a couple years ago. Now my life is just shit from here on in.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be an endless slog of like crappy, I'm in this sales job. Sales sucks. I hate it. Like everything just seemed negative. And then I don't know where I read it. Somebody talked about nostalgia for the future. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm just doing regular nostalgia, like nostalgia for the past. But like, why not flip it? Flip it to the future.
Yeah, the opposite.
Why can't the opposite? It always goes back to the opposite. Everything's a paradox, right?
The duality of life. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yes. So then, so you start getting into the mindset, like, what if I don't even want to go like, what if it becomes great? What if the future is great? Like, what if I meet a ton of great people and read a ton of great books and I see a ton of great movies?
Or travel.
Travel to a ton of great places and eat all kinds of foods and have a child or not have a child or have a business and just have all different life experiences that are actually good and like feel good and are things that I want to do that are inspiring, that are.
I wonder how good this could get.
I wonder how good this can get.
I
never thought that way.
Really?
I never thought that way not back then.
Well, you can now.
I can now. Well, that was the reason for writing this. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully inspire people to think the same way.
I wonder how good this could get. Well, that's what I would ask myself when I was stepping into dating. I'm like, I wonder how good this would get. Turned out it wasn't all that great, but who knows what the hell the future holds.
But this ties in perfectly to that nothing to lose mentality because the people that have quote unquote think they have something, they have some whatever, their accounts in the bank, their real estate. Yeah, why not? They could also be thinking like, whoa, this could get even better. Yeah. Not that I could accumulate more and more is better, but just this can be better. Why?
More fulfilling. Fulfilling. I'm a freaking realtor and I'm not tied to my house's value. Like my home is meaningful to me because it is where I come back to at the end of every day. Yeah. It's going to go up and down.
There's nothing you could do about it anyway.
The room that I'm sitting in is what I called ground zero of negativity. It was
repaints, right?
My God, the entire room got repainted.
Yeah.
And it went from being a room that I almost, not almost, I physically couldn't walk in the space. It was that repelling to me. And now it is one of my favorite places in my house.
So that perfectly illustrates like the nostalgia, the regular nostalgia, and then nostalgia for the future. It's like
I wonder how good this could
right
get.
In that room. It's like same room. It's the same room.
Same 4 fucking walls.
Yeah. Yes. 2 different stories.
But I threw a divorce party. That was super fun in March of 2017. I was like, come on over once the divorce was final.
Wow.
Yeah. Because what did I have to lose by inviting people that I love, my chosen family, into my home space?
Nothing to lose and creating the new story for the future. Yeah. It was
writing the new story. I wonder how good this could get.
Yeah. So it's a perception shift is like, it goes from, it's like a negative spiral to growth. Like it's basically looking down in an abyss to like looking up at seeing some light and like, oh, all right, I've been looking the wrong way.
From cataclysm to possibility. And, I've known people who went through divorce and it's like their life was over. And I'm just like, mine's just starting. I don't know what the hell you're doing. It's like, that's the perspective that I've always had. And I don't understand the alternate perspective, I suppose, because I've always just been possibility oriented.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you could do it in the moment, but sometimes it's a process. You got to work through these stories because they're so ingrained. You just feel, again, you got to keep catching yourself, keep catching yourself in the storyline.
It's the awareness.
Yeah. I do it. I literally, when I go for a walk and I'm in my own head, you get lost in thought and I start to follow the same storylines. Like you have something to lose. And then I flip. I'm like, no, you have nothing to lose. You're on a planet spinning in freaking outer space. Like you're a grain of sand in the middle of like a cosmos that is unfathomable. Like, what do you have to lose? Really?
Well, a grain of sand, but at the same time,
so many different ways to look at it.
There's meaning. And you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about the power of sharing our stories and how I'm watching all of the writers that I follow that are sharing their stories. And I'm just like, it is powerful. Like, yeah, you're a grain of sand, but you also have a unique voice and a unique perspective and a unique message to share. Yeah, you might just be a grain of sand, but there's also a lot of power in owning your uniqueness as an individual.
Yeah, I guess I mean, like when I say grain of sand, just that it's just, we think we're so significant. And then you start to realize that the world goes on with or without you. Yeah. And not that like you don't have any kind of value or power or like any kind of influence in the world. It's just, yeah, but you're also real.
It's not all about you.
Exactly. Or there's people that are just like poverty stricken, but that can remain happy. And people that
feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Or that like whatever. We talk about the starving artist kind of thing. Like maybe there's a person out there, they could channel their creativity into some outlets and they don't give a crap about like accumulating anything or having any kind of security because they're loving what they're doing so much. So, I mean, again, it's their storyline.
Maybe. I don't know. I like nice things.
Yeah. We were just saying about your ex saying like, would you live in a cardboard box with me?
He said he wanted to be with someone who was willing to live with him in a cardboard box. I was like, dude, I don't think that's
like that would suck.
Like,
yeah.
I remember just thinking like, no. The whole unromantic side of me is like, no, I'm kind of practical. I'm like, I like my king size bed.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you get back to like, what is important? Like, what's important?
What do you value?
What do you value? What do you have to lose?
Well, and it comes down to, I didn't really get clarity on my personal values until I was divorcing. Integrity is a core value of mine. Do what you say you're going to do. Like,
go figure. Yeah. A little trust there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, the clarity around what really is meaningful has been hugely helpful in evaluating every relationship in my life on an ongoing basis. Because not everyone needs to be a close connection and not everyone needs to remain a close connection. And that's okay.
That's been a tough one for me too. Like, how does that really play out?
Yeah, you struggle with some relationships, it sounds like.
Yeah, I hold on to a lot of relationships that I need to, well, I do let go of them, but I let go of them just in the practical sense of not talking to those people, but like I still feel like a connection to them, or I feel a sense of guilt that I've been the one to back off, you know, and maybe.
What's underneath that feeling?
Well, I guess part of it is that like I'm leaving them. It's sort of like an abandonment issue that I don't want anybody to ever feel abandoned by me.
How deep do you want to go with this?
I mean, we're getting a little off topic here, but like, I guess, yeah, it's like that lost puppy thing.
It's the whole trust building thing.
Yeah, right? I know. And these are adults that I'm talking, adult human beings that I've known for a long time. Some of them like older relatives, some of them peers, friends, like where I'm just kind of like, we need space here. You know, like it's not working. We've had so many different interactions where we're just kind of, it's not meshing. It's not serving either one of us. It's
not mutually beneficial.
No.
And that reciprocity is critical to me too. That's another core value. Like for me, relationships, there needs to be a reciprocity. Like it's not me giving all the time.
Yeah, I agree. It's not
me receiving all the time.
Yeah, and it can't feel like an energy suck, right? Like a lot of times you feel like it's just like...
Well, you're so sensitive.
Yeah.
And we have that in common, actually. I have maybe a tougher exterior.
Like what is it? The silk wrapped in steel?
Steel wrapped in silk.
Steel wrapped in silk, right.
I was watching a conversation on Instagram with Reese Witherspoon and Glennon Doyle.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both talking about the experience of being highly sensitive people, especially as children. And especially as women and men too. This applies to men too. How we were told we were too much. Like we feel too much. Don't be so sensitive. It's like, well, I'm paying attention. Like the world is broken. Like we're trying to tell you and no one's listening.
Yeah. And from a male context, at least like in the surroundings that I was in, it was weakness. Like any kind of sensitivity was just considered weak.
Yeah.
You can't be sensitive. Like, don't be sensitive. Don't show people. And if you show people you're sensitive, you're leaving yourself vulnerable.
You're really screwed.
Yeah. Because now they're going to freaking come down on you. Now they're going to attack you because
take advantage of that.
They see the weakness.
Yep.
So it's this weird dynamic. And not only till late, not until later in life do you start to realize that no, it's like the people that are sensitive are viewing the world accurately. And they're like a lot of times the teachers and
the poets and the creatives and the artists and
right. And allowing other people to feel the same things and be okay with it. And like the unshaming of people, like showing them that they don't need to be or feel shame from being a sensitive person.
I like the phrase extending permission better than I like unshaming. Personally.
Extending permission. Okay. Right. Well, you are a writer. I mean, use your words carefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so many of us are so highly sensitive and, I can feel the collective energy right now. And it's a lot. Holding my personal grief and like, there's the collective grief. How about you hold that too?
Yeah. But I wonder how much where are we going with this? how much of that collective grief is coming from the inputs we have from a media that we don't know the source and it's just different sources that are just kind of channeling in.
I don't read the news. Well,
even on Instagram, you hear things, you're hearing storylines of people that are living through this live,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wonder.
I have a lot of filters in place. Like I'm big on boundaries.
Yeah.
Instagram is the only place I'm posting anything.
Yeah.
And it certainly is still my highlight reel. Like it's what I choose to share.
I think everybody does that though, right? What are you going to be like? negative Nancy on Instagram? Like, man, life sucks right now.
So, at the end of April last year, I actually posted a picture of me crying on the kitchen floor.
Okay. And so how many of those compared to the flower with the amazing quote from a poet,
Yeah.
No, I do the same. Everybody, we all do it. I do the same. Why would you throw, you don't want to put.
You don't want to vomit on everybody.
Yeah. They're like, let me
shit I'm navigating now. Like, okay.
Let's unfollow her.
Yeah. So to bring it back to both nothing to lose and nostalgia for the future, there's a story element to both of them. Even just embracing is probably the word I would use. More of a mentality of nothing left to lose. Like, what would you do if you weren't afraid of failing?
Yeah. If there's no consequence.
Right. Like, how much more would you show up if you had nothing to lose? If you couldn't fail, like even when it comes to dating. Mm-hmm. So take this to dating. What do you have to lose? Nothing. Like you're still going home with yourself at the end of the day.
Right.
Just show up.
But I think, so it's all a fiction. It's all this like, you can create whatever story you want with any of this. Like you can create any story. You get to choose. It seems like our tendency, like your nervous system's tendency is to kind of like, to get into that fear mode, to kind of be in a hyper vigilant kind of space where, you start creating like worst case scenarios, or you start telling yourself, again, it's like a protective mechanism, but a lot of times it's not serving you well. So I think catching those storylines, and those stories are always happening. So it's just a matter of getting into that
awareness.
Yeah. Awareness. And then also knowing that you could rewrite that story in real time. Like,
they're not carved in stone. Like,
no, they're not. You can
rewrite anything you want. You can write a new story for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, so for instance, just going into our current state of affairs here, we're on lockdown. And I'm literally like walking 3 times a day just to get out of the house and just keep some sort of sanity.
Yep.
Again, in my head on these walks, I start to see like, I can't go anywhere. There's nowhere I can go. I'm trapped in my house. I'm working. I'm doing this. And it's happening in the background. I'm not really like thinking this. And then I catch it. I'm like,
right.
You're saying this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you're healthy. You're outside. I'm literally walking on a golf course. It's sunny out. There's birds. There's like, so you start just just look a little bit to the left.
Just pivot.
Yeah.
Just shift a little bit. Yeah.
And it's so strange because like, if you don't realize that, then you're just running on autopilot, and not like an autopilot. You
have a nice life.
Yeah. You're just flying down. Yeah.
Well, you're just perpetuating patterns, and that's,
right,
what we're all doing to some degree.
We are, right? Yeah. We're habitual pattern seeking.
Until those of us start to wake up and start to disrupt the patterns and be like, fuck this shit.
You start to care about your happiness, right? You start to care about like your moment to moment enjoyment of life. Yeah.
Your well-being, like your fulfillment. Yeah.
And I guess I never realized that.
Yeah.
I don't think many people, my parents went through their whole lives never realizing that just the stories that are going on in the background, those repetitive, crazy stories are what's keeping everything like.
This is the way we've always done it. It's like, well, how's that working out for you? Like,
yeah, it's just what my parents taught me.
This is the way it is. Like my ex used to say,
it is what
this is the way we've always done it. I'm like, yeah, well, this isn't working for me. So. Nostalgia for the future just seemed like such a cool like way of putting it. It's because like both of them are just a shift in perspective,
but can be so life changing because like you can literally go from, again, looking down into the abyss to looking up into like the opportunity, into the possibilities. Yeah.
It's expansive as opposed to,
which is hard to, it's
contractive, I guess. Is that the right word?
Yeah, sure. Contractive. Yeah. I'll go with that.
I make up words as I go. Yeah. I don't know.
Everybody knows what we meant. But you're right. Like it really changes the whole dynamic of the way you perceive your life.
It's a matter of where you're putting your attention. Like where, and it's not even all of your attention. It's not like you have to get to 100%, but where is the majority of your attention going?
Mm-hmm.
Are you focused on the expansive, or, where is the majority of your focus? And I'm not personally aiming for like 100% on expansive. Like I have moments of fear and anxiety and negative what ifs, but I have a lot more moments of imagining possibility and potential.
Yeah.
And that's where I choose to put my focus. And it is a choice. Like, we all have the ability to choose.
And I think it's like a muscle. It's a practice. It's like you need to like condition that muscle.
It's taken me almost 41 years.
Yeah, we just have.
Damn.
Like it's a repetition. It's a thing that like needs to be.
You get better. It gets easier over time, but it's still a practice.
It needs to be cultivated over time. It's not like.
And it's an intentional choice to cultivate it.
Yeah. And I think it's partially a remembering. Like it's a remembering to do it.
God.
Shit. It's like. It's like you just forget, like, right? You get lost in whatever you're doing, and like a week goes by, and you're like, fuck, everything we said on this podcast, I just forgot everything that we just talked about. I'm just lost in some rabbit hole.
So you know what one of the core words in my personal mission statement is integrity, which is related deeply to integration, which is deeply related to remembering.
Remembering. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that so much, that word remembering, because I feel like it's always there. Like it's in you.
The invitation is always there.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, it's up to us how deeply we choose to accept it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the duality of life. It's the yin and the yang. And those are words those are two that will not leave me alone.
Yeah. Remembering and
integration.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Huh.
Well, this has been a fun conversation.
Yeah, Diane, it was. And necessary.
Yeah. We're both losing our minds. So I don't know how extroverts or people with children are handling these times right now. Because I'm looking around and I'm like, I'm losing it. Like,
I can't even imagine. Imagine like you fed constantly off of like, human interaction. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, extroverts out there. I don't exactly know what you're going through, but I can feel some of it being an introvert.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, that was episode 21, and that's Nothing to Lose and Nostalgia for the Future. Next week will be 22, which we will do.
Well, actually, we could do the dangers of success.
Dangers of success. The danger of success. Thanks, Diane. All right. We're going to get through this together. All right, everyone. faconfessions.com. You can follow us there and subscribe and like and share and leave a comments. We've had a lot of cool comments.
We have, and reviews too, which is cool.
Yeah, reviews. It's been really cool. And I've gotten a lot of like just feedback from random people that are just like.
But that's the beauty. That is the beauty of technology, is that, like, you can put this content out there and you never know who's going to pick it up and who it might impact around the world. And I really appreciate that aspect of technology.
Yeah, I like the idea that we can have these kinds of conversations. People would reach out to me and say like, wow, I didn't know you were so introspective. I didn't know that, wow, this is really interesting. I'm like, great, let's have that conversation. I'm cool with that. Like, it's like,
I'm open to that.
Yeah, like just people that I didn't know I could have those kinds of conversations with or listening.
It's extending permission.
Right. We are. All right, Diane, that was great.
Yep. So we'll see you next week for episode 22.
All right. So we'll see you next time.
See you next week.